a lot of divas playing in that league right now. And the thing that I fail to understand is all these guys that are doing this have long-term deals.
Wow. The word he uses was divas. I see a lot of heads shaking. Teddy Bruschi, I will start with you. What is your reaction to what Ron Wolf said?
Yeah, that diva word is strong. I mean, I don't really know if you should start with me. When it comes to divas, you should start with Darlington. I mean, he's got the Emmy in the background and all of that. So, I mean, we could go there. All right.
Man, coming out hot.
But Greeny, here we go. Okay, we're talking divas here. I mean, do you want to put them in that category? You could, but what Ron Wolf is talking about is the way it used to be. And it's just not that way anymore. These quarterbacks, these players in what I call power positions, like an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, these type of guys have the right to want control, and controls this, especially of their careers. And I mean, Rodgers was in that seat before that Jordan Love is in right now. I mean, it's like, I'm the one that took over for Brett Favre, and now it's like, whoa, I sort of see the same thing happening here, and I'm not going to let that happen to me. So it's about these players, yes, exhibiting more power and having more control, but also that quarterback position. I mean, you just can't mess up the relationship and then the feelings of the quarterback anymore, because they know how much power they have.
Do the feelings matter at any other position? Teddy, you were a linebacker. Did anyone worry about your feelings?
No, I mean, there's specific players. I mean, if you have that type of power, feelings come into play. And I mean, if I'm a player in that Packer locker room, I'm just thinking, how'd you mess this up? How'd you get into Aaron Rodgers' head so much to where he doesn't want to be here anymore? And when you bring in someone and you're almost letting history repeat itself by another quarterback coming in and sort of that sort of progression, you know, this is a guy that says, no, I'm not having it.
Mike Tannenbaum, let me come to you, because this is not a brand new phenomenon, but it does feel as though, having seen what Tom Brady did a year ago, might be accelerating this in some places. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the right word. When you look around the league, Russell Wilson, certainly what's going on with Rodgers, before everything heated up with Deshaun Watson, the perception was Tom Brady left a place where he had historic success to a place where he at least had a seat at the table, and now they're saying, hey, we want that as well. But I think context is really important, because I've run a couple of head coaching searches where I've had Chad Pennington, I've had Ryan Tannehill very quietly speak to some candidates. I wanted their feedback. They weren't picking the coach, but their feedback was going to be helpful. And candidly, I thought both of those players made our jobs in each respective situation a little bit more attractive. So I think there's a way you can manage these situations where they feel they're part of the discussion, but yet not get to the point where, as Teddy alluded to, it looks like it's past the point of no return in Green Bay.
But Mike T, that isn't the Packer way, right? We sometimes talk about the Patriot way. If there's one thing we're learning here, there's also a Packers way, and it doesn't feel like that's it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Green. And when you talk to people around the league, when they leave there, players, coaches, people in the front office, and then you have to deal with an owner, the dynamic is a little bit different there. They could do things the way they want. There is no owner. It's very unique. And what Ron Wolf, who's a Hall of Fame GM, it's really interesting to get his insight of, hey, this is how we do things. You're under a long-term contract. You're the league MVP. You should be happy. You should be fulfilled here. You don't need to leave Green Bay.
And then let me circle back now to the very well-groomed Jeff Darlington, because, Jeff, you were telling us earlier today that there is a perception about the influence that Tom Brady has in his new situation in Tampa, and then there's a reality, and those two may not actually be the same.
Well, I find this somewhat fascinating coming from Ron Wolf. Look, the reason that the Packers are in the position to be able to, quote, do what they want is because they've had, over the span of, 3 decades, 2 quarterbacks in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Like, that makes things a little bit easier. What I would say when it comes to Tom Brady,
Indiana to take on the Pacers. Then the Celtics playing without Jaylen Brown, hosting the Wizards for the right to play the Nets in round 1. It's been a rough season for Boston. Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, they won't make that any easier. Tomorrow night, the Western Conference takes center stage. Both games here on ESPN. begins with the Grizzlies and the Spurs. They meet at 7:30 in Memphis. And then at 10, the matchup we've all been waiting for. Lakers, Warriors, LeBron, Steph. The winner moves on. The loser could face a single elimination scenario. What more do you need to say? So take a look. This is how the play-in tournament functions. The winner of the 7-8 game in each conference advances to take on the 2 seed. The loser of that game then gets that 1-game shot. They have to play the winner of the 9-10 game. The winner of that advances to take on the 1 seed. Okay, so let's get into it with Jay Will, KJZ, Coast to Coast, ESPN Radio every single morning. Let's start in the West and work our way back. What do we need to see from LeBron James this week that will convince you the Lakers are ready not just to get out of the week, but to win a championship?
Number one, just need him to be healthy. No tweaks. I don't want to see limping. I just want to see him playing and fully engaged, right? Obviously, we know that he is hindered a little bit by that right leg. That's fine. LeBron James still at 80% is better than 90% in the league. I will take it. But I want to see the rhythm. I want to see the ladder. I want to see the guy that posted #WashKing all last year. I want to see that version of LeBron pick up since he's had a month off from basketball, obviously to recover, but he also recovered mindset-wise too, Green.
So look, I think we all expect in a best-of-7 series, if that's how this thing all played out, both the Warriors and Lakers would get out of this opening week. That's not what we have here. We have these 1-game seasons, if you will. So let's look at the first game here. Steph versus LeBron. What does Steph need to do for the Warriors to win?
He needs to go bonkers. He needs to have the same game he had the other night, 46 points. He needs to have an MVP caliber game and needs to be prolific. Here's the thing, the Lakers are going to throw all their defenders at him multiple times. So guys like Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole also have to carry a lot of the load because a lot of that will be on Steph's back. But still, I'm still going to pick the Lakers to win this game. But Steph has to be prolific, Greeny. Prolific for them to beat the Lakers.
Yeah, because bear in mind, the loser of this game is literally in a 1-game survive and advance scenario. You have one bad night, you have one bad foul trouble, you have whatever it is, and your season comes to an end before the playoffs even begin. All right, now let's get to the East tonight. How would you describe what is at stake for the Boston Celtics this week?
They're going to get a pass. I'm just letting everybody know, you guys aren't going to like it. I have questions about Brad Stevens and his ability to motivate players, to manage players. Brilliant at X's and O's. Managing players is something different. There's something lost from this team. There's something, and granted, I know they've been plagued by injuries. Marcus Smart has had things. Robert Williams out. Jason Tatum, COVID. Jaylen Brown out with an injury. But still, granted, sometimes they just don't play hard. You question that about their team. That leadership, they lost their last 10 to 15 games. But still, I think all these guys, Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they'll all be fine going into next year. What happens with the supporting cast? That's going to be a question I think Danny Ainge is going to need to address. Can Kemba Walker remain healthy for a year? What do you do with Marcus Smart? You still question some of their inside presence that they have because other teams like the Nets, the 76ers, the Miami Heat are propelling back up. They're surpassing the Boston Celtics.
But that's my point.
Yes.
The Celtics were the team of the future. Now they all of a sudden feel like the team of the past. We missed the present. What happened to the present?
What better coach are you going to find than Brad Stevens?
If you're telling me the team isn't playing hard.
I understand, but the reason why I think they're going to get another year, you tell me what coach you think is going to be better at managing the personalities of that team other than Brad Stevens for another year. I don't see a coach like that on the market right now. I still think, considering everything else that's happened, we're going to see this team back next year.
Will they get out of this week?
No. I don't think. Watching them play, closing out the season, I don't see it. And the one team I don't want to see if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, I do not want to see the Washington Wizards. I think the Wizards versus the Nets will be the matchup the Nets would want. But I think for the 76ers, we always question about the mental toughness of the 76ers. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They've been incredible throughout the regular season. Doc Rivers, an incredible job. Now we're in the playoffs, Greeny. This is when it matters. You take that first round against Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Let's see how that
No, that's not a matchup anybody wants to see. Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, very dangerous players in these play-ins. He's KJZ every weekday morning, coast to coast on ESPN Radio. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks,
I'm ready.
Oh, that was a good catch.
Okay, so that's one huge name in the news. Here's another. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers remaining at something of an impasse, although the story continues to dominate NFL circles, including former Packers general manager Ron Wolf, who was on the Big Show radio network offering a rebuke of Rodgers and other star quarterbacks. Listen to this.
Today's quarterbacks want to be more than quarterbacks. In my time, they're high.